I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
He is terrible!
We gotta know how many wieners are going down these dudes' throats.
I'm gonna go quick because I don't give a fuck about anything that's gonna happen on Saturday.
Hello, boys! We are finally back for the MMA Analysis podcast. I am your host, since of course Lance went MIA.
He's dead.
Jay Primetown. For now, we are joined by our trusty Canadian, the teenager, new Shaun. How's it going?
The trusty Canadian teenager was not very trusty last week and fucked up the recording. I had one job. That's been known. That's my only job, and I fucked it up. So that was my fault for no podcast this week. But hopefully we're back for another one this week.
I certainly hope so. I mean, yeah, that's not, our loyal fan base is not going to be happy if, with too much time without a show. I feel they've gone already too long. There's a strong possibility the Sodsman will join us in progress. At least that's what he's claiming. But that Southern time, it's hard to trust. So we'll see. I'm hopeful though. I think that will probably be it this week. There was a potential for a Brad sighting, but I guess we'll have to wait a little longer for that as well. So, new Shaun, a lot happened in the weeks that we've been off. Obviously, there was the Conor and Khabib fight.
The humbling.
It happened.
It was beautiful.
Who loses? I was happy. I was like, it was like my birthday for like 3 days in a row. After that, it was tough for me to watch that because, I had so much pride on the line.
It's a tense thing for you. That was your name. Your name was on the line.
I know, which is scary, right? It's more scary than betting or just, and just doing things. You really stake your claim out there. Saying one way for a fight or another is one thing, but I pretty much staked my claim on the Khabib on the Khabib Express years ago, and every time he fights, it's always a little nerve wracking because the amount of crow I'll have to eat is it could be dinner for you for months. So it's tough, but he dominated. It wasn't close, and there's now no argument that Conor is the best fighter in any weight class in mixed martial arts at this point in time, and nobody can make that.
You mean Khabib? You said Conor, so I just wanted to make sure that you weren't stating that.
There's no claim. That's what I'm saying. There was a point where people were saying, "Oh, Conor's the best. Khabib hasn't fought anybody." Blah 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 blah. It's over. Connor's on the downswing. He is on a decline. New Shaun, what do you think of that?
I'm sure the layoff, the partying, does not help him whatsoever. This was just an absolutely atrocious matchup for him. It was always going to be. He could have taken off 3 years and trained with the U.S. Olympic team, and he still would have got taken down and smashed. It's just the way it goes. This is a matchup style that was just never going to work out for him. He did a little bit better than I thought when it came to a bit of the takedown defense, but it was inevitable what was going to happen. Held on tightly for dear life that first round, didn't get smashed. But after that, even getting dropped by Khabib was pretty beautiful. Did not see that coming. That was a little feather in Khabib's cap. But yeah, this was domination. I know there's been talk about him doing all right, and supposedly he won a round. I guess that's his claim now. That's Conor's claim. Nobody's ever won a round against Khabib. He took one round off of him.
It's a claim.
It's a claim, but in the meantime, he got his ass whooped and tapped to a fucking not even a full sunken rear naked choke. It was a neck crank. So,
how'd that happen?
Yeah, well, gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta save that moneymaker. He's got whiskey to sell. Can't be disfigured and sell whiskey.
Yes, I know. And how tired were you getting just a whiskey selling? I mean, Jesus H Christ! I mean, can we stop with that?
It's still going. I mean, he was at the fucking Dallas Cowboys stadium 2 weeks ago, selling it like. I mean, whatever. He's getting money any way he can. Yeah, I guess you can't knock his hustle, but to me, I can definitely avoid all that garbage.
He is garbage. The whole thing is garbage, and there was maybe nothing more annoying in the whole lead up to the fight. Was like, oh, let's do our whiskey tastings, MMA fans.
Oh, all the writers shilling for that whiskey.
I know, it's such an embarrassment. They're trying to latch. They're such leeches. They try to latch on to anything to make their lives better. That they think Conor's there trained for more money. It's sad. It's really sad. And either way, I enjoyed it thoroughly. And now there's talk of Khabib and the Canadian GOAT, the Russian GOAT, and the Canadian GOAT. Shaun, what do you think of that? Like, what do you think?
I'd be very interested in that fight. I'm not sure the UFC wants to make it. I mean, here's what they do. You put it at 165. There's no belts. They can't bitch that GSP is going to come back and then take the belt and then drop it. So you put it at 165 pounds, and it will be a very, very big pay-per-view. I don't see how the UFC doesn't do that. If they're always looking to make money, they're kind of looking for anything they can do. So to me, that's got to be the biggest fight you can make at the smaller weight classes.
It's interesting because I have one friend telling me that he'd be so amped up for that fight, and then another friend saying it would be completely boring and doesn't care.
I mean, why do they think it would be boring? I think that's going to be a fun fight.
I think it'll be a grapple fest.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're both amazing wrestlers. A lot of times that cancels out. Yes. We'll see some striking. We'll see if Khabib can continue to progress in his striking. See that GSP jab. I don't know. It's intriguing to me. I don't know how it couldn't be when you got the 170 GOAT against probably the 155 GOAT, or soon to be.
I don't disagree with you. It's intriguing, but I don't think that's the fight they'll end up doing. I don't.
You think they do the Tony fight?
I mean, that would make sense.
It's just that fight is so jinxed. I mean, it is the fight to make. After result, after
I mean, what's
fight,
McNutty going to do? I mean, I would think him versus St. Pierre is way more likely, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I don't know if that... after what Khabib did to him, I think that was the fight to make before this Khabib fight. But now that McGregor got just dummied by Khabib, does that really interest GSP? It seems like GSP wants to have legacy fights. That's a money making fight, no doubt about it. Obviously, it's a absolutely massive money making fight, but I don't think that does anything for his legacy, in my opinion.
No, you're probably right.
So I think that Khabib fight is
for GSP. I mean, it might. I mean, because it's I don't know. It's something.
It's money making for sure, but I just don't. GSP's talk is all about legacy. Like, he's not looking to win belts. It seems like from what I've read of some interviews with him recently. So I think the Khabib fight works to a lesser extent the Askren fight, just because no matter what all these nerds and journalists tell you, Ben Askren is not a household name, and I don't know if that does much for GSP's legacy, it does possibly take a undefeated fighter, but I don't think anybody really knows who Ben Askren is. So,
speaking of Ben Askren,
yeah, he's a
now,
UFC fighter.
But officially not, because the UFC hasn't announced it yet. Or at least that's what he's saying.
That's like John Gruden talking about fucking what's-his-face, Cooper, and not trading him.
I know, right?
It's buddy, you've been traded. You can talk about it, but...
Yeah, you're allowed to chat. Yes, exactly. But that's basically what he's saying. But Demetrius Johnson is officially over to 1. New Shaun, you are the biggest Demetrius Johnson fan in this show's history, I'd say.
Yeah.
Of all the various hosts. What are your thoughts about the Mouse leaving the UFC and going over to 1?
Selfishly, I'm pretty bummed just because I'm never gonna see him fight in person ever again. I've seen him.
Why, you don't want to go to Macau or Singapore and see him fight? I mean, that's a trip.
That's a trip. I don't know if it's a trip worth. If somehow the paths cross, maybe, but yeah, just kind of a bummer. But I mean, he sounds really excited about it for one reason or another. I don't know if it's just the straight cash. I don't know if it's just the love that he gets from 1. I know obviously Matt Hume is his trainer, so and he's a vice president or something of 1. So he seems happy about it. So I guess I got to be happy for him. But just kind of sucks that we won't get to. I won't get to see him in person and fight in person anymore. But I don't know. Maybe 1 will do some crazy show where he'll fight Horiguchi, because I don't know who the hell he's going to fight in 1, because there's nobody's over there in his division.
We'll fight the Gucci man.
Yeah, but Gooch is Ryzen, so that would have to be a Ryzen or a Ryzen versus 1 card, maybe at New Year's or something.
Sure, why not?
That'd be pretty sweet.
Who wouldn't like that? I mean, would you put it past Ryzen to do something like that?
No, do they do wild shit? I mean, it's the same guys. Remember they used to do like Dream versus Sengoku and stuff like that? Like,
what if I told you that this is all a plot for the UFC to eventually eliminate the 125-pound division, and then they don't want to add any additional weight classes overall, so they'll replace 125 with 165, and then they're just going to go from there.
It honestly seems that way. I'm in agreement with you. I think that's kind of what the plan is. There's always been these rumors about them doing that, and it really seems like that's what they're hinting at. Kind of sucks for those smaller fighters. There's some pretty decent 125ers that are going to have to move up, and they're going to be at a decent disadvantage against those bigger fighters. But if that's what has to happen for us to get a 165 and a 175 division, I think I'm for it.
Okay. I hear you.
There's just so many good fighters at 155 and 170 that could fill those two weight classes. That would be awesome. Another exciting champion that I think that could probably sell some pay-per-views if they do. I don't know if they would do a tournament, what they would do for that, but it would bring some new life, just something different for the UFC. It seems a bit stale at this point with some other organizations doing some different stuff, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, they got to try something different, right? I mean, who are we kidding here? That would be good. Anyway.
Oh, you're breaking up, Jay.
I don't know what happened there.
There we go. You're back.
Yeah, I got cut out. That was interesting. I don't know what you did to me, New Shaun.
I didn't do anything, I swear. I didn't give you computer aids or anything, I swear.
Oh, that's a thing?
I don't know.
Just make up diseases. I get it. You get healthcare for everything, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. So yeah, let's move on to last week's card. Obviously some some things to discuss in that regard. Preliminary card saw Stevie Ray not looking too great, but facing kind of a giant. Landed the better shots, but this fight was pretty close. I mean, I was surprised he won a unanimous decision. I really was.
Yep.
Next bout was a heavyweight bout with Aaron Bueller and Marcelo Gome, where the Canadian, it was a really tight fight heading into the third round, but then he got the takedown in the third and beat up a gassed-out Brazilian. And then probably the most surprising result of the night, two newcomers. The highly touted Tejavon Edwards got absolutely demolished by Dan Madge, a South African fighter.
Plus 500.
Can you believe it? A South African fighter dominating a prospect in the UFC? I mean, of all, South Africa it might be below China in terms of MMA fighters. Might be definitely below Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. That was a shock. Shaun, what do you think of that?
That was insane. Stevie Ray in another one of these close fights. I know the scorecards kind of don't say that it was that close, but I thought it was pretty damn close. That's kind of the trouble with him. He's not a guy that's going to rock somebody for the most part, and he's got to work on. He just kind of goes by landing more shots, and hopefully he can stay in there. So always dicey. Was able to cash on Stevie Ray, but it was a tight one.
Harlem Heat.
The heat came through. So gotta love that. As for the great Canadian hope at heavyweight, he was able to get by. Marcelo Gomez is fucking terrible. I pissed away.
There's worse guys than him.
There is, and he beat them. Christian Colombo. That's who's worse than him.
That's a good point.
I don't know what to make of Bueller. it was still not a very decisive fight until the third.
We call him Bueller and just
Bueller.
say Bueller.
Yeah.
Bueller.
Bueller.
I know. It'll be fun. Bueller.
Works
or
for
him.
me.
Bueller.
And then Don Madge. That was a sick head kick. I don't think many people saw that coming. Friend of the MMA Analysis, Whiskey Sour had some money on the South African. I don't know what made him put some money on, but congrats to that guy because
just supporting chaos. I
guess
assume.
so, but I'll be looking. I'll always look to fade a South African. He's got a sweet win, and maybe he'll be elevated price wise next time out, and maybe he's not this good.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell on him, but I mean, he came out striking. I mean, he showed some offensive grappling off his back. The head kick knockouts he had two vicious head kicks. I mean,
looked pretty good.
It was offensively, it looked like a pretty sweet performance. But yeah, let's see what happens when he's challenged. And
yeah, if you don't know that guy's from South Africa and fought for EKC or whatever the hell it is, EFC, then you would think he would be
already.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. You never know. After the first fight, yeah, the second fight is usually more telling than the first fight, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Almost always. Anyway, 4 televised prelims. We saw Tolito Bernardo take down Sarah Moraz in a typical Sarah Moraz fashion. Tried to be aggressive off her back and actually did something in the third round, but wasn't meant to be this time as she dropped a decision. Pretty highly touted prospect as well. Chris Fishgold got in there with Calvin Cutter. Really went after him for the first 2 or 3 minutes, but then Cutter's just boxing was just awesome, and then eventually finished for Chris Fishgold. Kelvin Gastelum's long-lost twin brother, Nasrat Hakparast, beat up Thibaut Guti. It's definitely becoming a little worrisome for Hakparast that he can't finish. I mean, he's been pretty good, and I'm interested in him, but this is the second straight time he's faced like a scab and couldn't actually finish the fighter. So, what's going to happen when he faces real talent? And then one that I really liked, Shaun Strickland, man, biggest prop winner on the night, like a plus 1,300 knockout prop hits on Shaun Strickland. Look at that. Shaun Strickland knocking out Nordine Taleb. really solid. Really went after him in the second round, and once he hurt him, there was not much there. So good win for him. Shaun, any thoughts on those?
Didn't watch the chick fight. Cutter looked pretty damn good with a guy coming for it right at the bell. So that was good to see that he was able to kind of weather that storm and then put his game plan and finish the guy. Haqparast should have got Guti out of there. I don't know if he needs to work on his cardio. I don't know what he does, but he's got skills, but he needs to work on that cardio and work on that finishing. And then as for Strickland, that was a damn good finish. I didn't really see that coming. I didn't really have any money on either of these guys, but back-to-back KO losses for Taleb, 37 years old. If he keeps fighting, we're probably going to have to start fading that because his chin looks to be gone. And Sean Strickland, maybe he's finally showing some of that skills that got him hyped up as a bit of a prospect.
Yeah, I've always liked him, but we'll see. We'll see. Mm-hmm. I know it feels like, there's like he's never. He just hasn't been able to put it together for a series of fights. I feel like that's been the issue. Mm-hmm. Main card. This was an interesting one. Alex Garcia started off well, but in typical Alex Garcia fashion, he got tired. But the surprising part here was Court McGee actually dropped Alex Garcia in the second round. Jesus. And then Court got the decision, deserved win. And then John Vellante, man, this fight was something else. Split decision win over Ed Herman. I'm going to ask you, Shaun, who did you score this fight for?
I got very disinterested in this fight.
Don't blame you.
I don't really care. I thought it was close, but I really didn't give a shit. Those people who parlayed John Vellante had to have been very worried.
They were. Yeah, they were. Yeah. This one was fun. Andres Subkantai took on something called Jonathan Martinez. This was entertaining, but Subkantai looked good. I mean, this is a fight that but he was put on his back at one point and really showed nothing. But on his feet, I mean, this guy is well above average on his feet, isn't he?
Yeah. As long as he can keep it on his feet, he's gonna do fairly well. The problem is at that weight. I mean, it's not too bad at bantamweight. You're not gonna run into too many hardcore wrestlers, but yeah, he's a bit of a fish when he gets put on his back.
That's a correct statement. Correct. This one was the blowout of the night. There was nothing close about this fight. Misha Serkinov once he got this fight to the ground, Pat Cummins was just a complete disaster. He had nothing to offer, and it got subbed first round. I really don't remember much about the Lobov fight, Shaun. So you can tell me about how Michael Johnson won a decision and only won 2 out of 3 rounds?
I didn't even watch the Lobov fight. All I kept seeing was all these articles coming out talking about how good, not how good Artem is, but like, I don't know. He's just not good enough. I assumed what happened was, I mean, the thing is, I don't think much of Michael Johnson at this point either.
You shouldn't.
I'm not surprised it was a bit closer. I kind of figured it would be, but just thankfully Michael Johnson was able to come out on top. I had him by decision. Artem can take a punch and make things somewhat competitive when it's going to be a strictly striking fight against a guy that is pretty washed. So that's the state of Artem. He's what, 13-14 at this point in his career? What is he? Let me just open up this. He is 13-15 now in his career. That is UFC caliber.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay then.
On to a decent fight.
Main event. This was something. I'm just saying something here. Anthony Smith, Vulcan. Vulcan, first round was pretty competitive. Then Vulcan, got Anthony Smith to the ground in the second, kind of controlled him there and did some damage, but it couldn't finish. And then Volkan got tired.
Yep.
And Anthony Smith took over and subbed him.
Wow.
Anthony Smith, Rashad Evans KO, Shogun KO, Volkan finish, Anthony Smith, light heavyweight contender, new Shaun. What do we have?
That is an insane turnaround for Anthony Smith.
Yes, it is.
He's had quite the career, being kind of a Bellator washout. He's had a shit ton of fights, but he moved up and he's been doing all right. I mean, obviously the guys who he's fighting are fairly washed and kind of an unknown in Volkan, but yeah, the guy's I mean, he's a fun fighter. He's definitely flawed. There's no way about that. But
you're allowed to call him terrible.
He's not terrible. He's just not great. He's good at fighting tired. That's one thing he's good at. So if he can go in there against lesser competition and survive, then he's more comfortable than most fighters at fighting tired. And I think that's what was the big thing in this fight. He got beat in the first and second. I thought the first was fairly close. Volkan was able to get it to the ground and kind of not dominate, but he was able to impose his will for the most part in that round. And then Anthony Smith comes out there, flurries a bit, kind of just feels the momentum shift and took him out. Another guy from, well, I guess he's not a Black Zillions anymore, but a Henry Hoof fighter that gets a bit tired, gets some guy taking over the fight, and he quits.
What do you do next?
With who? Anthony Smith?
Yes, I don't care about Volkan.
Of the can? Well, he says he's taking the rest of the year off, which is fine.
Well, that's not a lot of time. I mean,
no.
It's 2 months.
I mean, he's had a bunch of fights, so light heavyweight. I'm just bringing up the rankings. So he is, I don't know if it's been updated yet. I mean, it says he's 10th, but he dropped one, so I'm assuming this hasn't been updated. I think you give him Jan Blachowicz. That would be the number 3rd ranked fighter, him or Latifi.
How about Glover?
Glover's already number 8, man. Glover's...
That's not correct.
He just fought the number 2 fighter in the light heavyweight division.
Who, Glover?
No. Volkan was ranked number 2.
Well, that's incorrect, but yes, I understand what you're saying. I mean, he could be lined up for the title next. I mean, I don't know. Give him Jonathan Dwight. No, they ain't doing that.
Glover just lost to Corey Anderson, so I don't think that's kind of a step back for Anthony Smith at this point. The list goes, well, Daniel Cormier, not really. So we'll say John Jones, Gustafson, Volkan, Blachowicz, Latifi, Manoa, Dominic Reyes. That's the top 6 right there.
That's fine. That's fair.
So I think you give Anthony Smith, a Latifi, a Blachowicz, something like that. And then the winner of that fight gets a title shot, but probably not because the next one will likely be John Jones versus DC. So whatever. You give him Blachowicz or Latifi.
Fine.
Works for me. Work for you?
I mean, I don't have much of a choice. It is what it is. I don't know. I don't care about this division. You know that. I care about John and Jonathan, and that's it. Yeah. Let's move on. This week's card, pay-per-view, Madison Square Garden. Woo!
Bit of a letdown. Considering the fights that have fallen out. But there's still some pretty damn interesting fights on this card.
Yeah, we'll agree to that. That's fine. Anyway, first fight up, we got a heavyweight bout. Marcos Rogério de Lima, the Brazilian, taking on Adam Weierzurik. New Shaun. What do you think?
I think these are 2 fairly terrible heavyweights that usually I don't like to touch heavyweight fights.
It's a strategy.
De Lima, the last time he fought, it was actually a light heavyweight. He fought Osp.
But he was a big light heavyweight.
Yeah, so I think he's moved around between heavyweight and light heavyweight a bunch. De Lima hasn't fought since April of last year, so that's a bit worrisome. Are we call him wire check? Is that what we're going to call him? That's what I'll call him. I can't really pronounce that name.
Don't care.
Yeah. He was able to sub Bueller back in April.
Bueller.
But these are shitty heavyweights, so the only way I would look at this fight is taking the underdog inside the distance, something like that. Rogério to win inside is like plus 250. He does have big power in his hands, and in heavyweights it doesn't take much, so I would definitely not be laying minus 220 with wire checks, so I might sprinkle on Rogério by inside the distance, because I don't think he's winning a decision. That's almost impossible.
I'm kind of with you. The only way that Rogério is not winning a decision. I mean, the only way he wins is by knockout. I think. Well, I guess he could sub, but there's no way he's winning decision. Just the way he fights is just. I mean, this feels like Rogério wins in the first round, or his opponent wins, round 2, 3, or potentially by decision. So, I kind of like De Lima here. I mean, I think he's got a higher ceiling, but this is not really something I want to bet on. I might lean towards a De Lima round 1 prop once I see that, but other than that, I will stay away. My grades are De Lima D, Wyerzik D-, but at this level, I mean, who knows? Next bout, which should be pretty good, is Brian Kelleher and is that Montel Jackson? New Shaun.
Montel,
quit playing.
Bit surprised that the money's come in on Jackson. Kelleher actually opened minus 185, and he got all the way up to plus 135. It's come down a bit. He's plus 110 now. He did get knocked out last time by John Lineker, so it's a bit worrisome about that chin. But these guys are bantamweights. As long as you don't have too many fights in the gym, it's not too terrible. But Kelleher has had a decent amount of fights. He's had 28 fights in his career. He's going against Montel Jackson, who's a fairly new fighter. He lost last time out to Ricky Simon. That actually wasn't that long ago. That was only in August. But yeah, Montel Jackson's only been a professional fighter since June of 2017, just over a year and a bit. There's a bit of a veteran difference here. I'll pick Kelleher, but I can't put any money on him at this point.
This should be competitive and entertaining. On the feet, Jackson has the advantage, and the grappling, I'd say Kelleher has the advantage. I'm a little worried about what Jackson does if he's really forced to the mat. I think he could be in trouble. So that's one reason I favor Kelleher. I just think there's a more varied toolbox. But Jackson's definitely dangerous, and if it does become a prolonged striking contest, it's a huge advantage for Jackson. Next fight up. The return of Kurt Hollabaugh taking on, New Yorker's Shane Burgos. New Shaun.
Burgos has looked good in his UFC career. He did lose last time out against Calvin Cutter, but he was winning that fight up until that point where he got clipped. Kurt Hollabaugh, he did beat the crap out of Matt Bessette on the Contender Series, but then he got knocked out by Raoni Barcelos. That was a bit surprised. I think I had that fight going to decision or something like that, and Hollabaugh got KO'd. Burgos, big favorite here. I think it's fairly justified. it is kind of scary going against Halaba, who's a bit of a pretty decent wrestler, but I think Burgos should be able to keep it on the feet and implement his striking game and possibly even knock out Kurt Halaba.
That is his plan. I like Burgos too. I got Burgos C, Halaba C minus. I just like Burgos's. I mean, Halaba. Like, I expect this to be a striking contest, and in that scenario, I mean, Burgos hits harder, and he has more variety going in the body, going in the head. Maybe even not. I mean, Halaba has decent volume, but Burgos just hits harder. I mean, that's what it comes down to. He's going to do more damage, and he's more talented. There's really no reason to break it down any more than that. I like Burgos here. I like him quite a bit. I think he's, this is a card where there's a lot of, medium to big favorites. I think he's one of the better parlay legs on this card. Next fight up, Matt Frivola, returning to UFC for the second time, taking on Lando Venata, king of entertaining fights. New Shaun.
That he is.
Not always in a good way.
Yeah, he's 1-3-1 in his UFC career.
Really? Not bad?
Is Lando Venata.
Wow.
He beat John McDessie, but lost to David Tamer, Bobby Green, Drakkar Klose. So he's fighting some pretty damn good guys, and I think that's just because of how well he did in that Tony Ferguson fight. I think this is kind of finally a step down against Matt Frivola. I don't think too much of him. But Lando puts himself in some scary fights. He's willing to just bleed, and that's kind of a scary guy to have money on. So I expect him to win, but minus 300 is kind of scary with a guy with his fighting style that you're always going to be worried that they're in a phone booth and he just gets clipped. So pick him, but can't lay minus 300.
No, that would be hard to do. I got Frivola a D+, Venata a C. Venata, there's no denying Venata's striking acumen, his offensive talent. New Shaun alluded to that. I mean, his first fight was a hell of a firefight with Tony Ferguson. Had Tony hurt. I mean, there's a lot of talent there. There's no denying that. But he puts himself in bad positions. New Shaun said it, and he can't be trusted as a big favorite. I mean, Matt Frivola is a little more static, but he's got big punching power. He's got some grappling chops. You have to be worried about the power here if you're betting Venata. It's a sizable favorite. Would it really surprise anyone if he got knocked out or just hurt badly in this bout multiple times? It wouldn't. So I'd stay away. But I mean, I'll just take Venata again. Just striking talent alone. Lyman Good and Ben Saunders. New Shaun. Can the jiu-jitsu man,
the rubber guard?
Yeah, can rubber guard actually do anything? Are you a rubber guard believer?
Fuck no. Is anybody a rubber guard believer in actual MMA?
Oh, I thought Eddie Bravo. I was going to say Eddie Bravo, but I guess not.
Yeah.
I know Alan Belcher was.
Ugh, that was years ago.
I know.
This is a weird fight. You kind of look at it and you're thinking Lyman Good is a minus 600 favorite against Ben Saunders. That's a bit crazy, but Ben Saunders is in rough shape these days.
How about the word terrible?
That's pretty much what he is. Just gets dominated by Sergio Moraes only a couple weeks ago. Choked out. He was able to beat Jake Ellenberger, but we know about Jake Ellenberger, so got knocked out the previous two fights. This is his fourth fight in 2018. That is a lot of fights. That's a lot of losses. That's a lot of getting punched in the head. That's a lot of getting knocked out. So I'm beginning to grasp why it is minus 600. Lyman Good hasn't fought since July 22nd, 2017, so that is a good layoff. That's 15 months. Looking back, he lost a split to Elijah Dushku. in hindsight, that's not a bad loss. The problem is knowing what he is right now after that layoff. I'm not touching it. He probably knocks out Ben Saunders because Ben Saunders doesn't have a chin, has to cut weight how many times this year, just got beat up. But I'm not going to put minus 600 in a parlay. It's just not worth it to me. But I guess we'll hopefully see a highlight reel knockout and Ben Saunders lying on the floor again.
That's one way to look at it. I got Ben Saunders a D, Lyman Good a C-. I mean, Lyman Good, pretty good on his feet, like throws hard. Ben Saunders can't take much punches anymore, and Lyman Good, pretty decent wrestler. I mean, not great, not terrible. Solid enough that he's going to be able to keep this on the feet and beat up Ben Saunders on the feet. Lyman Good wins by KO. No need to break this down any further. I think it's a pretty simple fight to call. Julio Arce taking on Shaun Moraes, and what should be a pretty interesting clash, new Shaun.
A bit surprised by this number. I know Shaun Moraes doesn't really get much fanfare, but he's a pretty decent fighter. I think everybody gets crushed by Zabit other than the elite of the elite, so that's not a bad loss. I don't remember the Matt Sales fight. I think I remember that he did well in it, but didn't look amazing. Julio Arce, he's got a couple wins in the UFC. Daniel Tamer, the lesser Tamer, Dan Idge. Those are okay. This is a wide line. I think I'm gonna sprinkle on Shaun Moraes. You can get him at like plus 300 at a couple books. I think that's worth a shot. You got a fairly seasoned guy going against a bit of a younger fighter. I mean, he's 29, but in the UFC he's only had a couple fights. But Shaun Moraes has got good striking. He's been in there with some hellacious strikers in Marlon Moraes, Zabit, to a lesser extent Luis Palomino, Robbie Peralta. So you can definitely mix it up. So I think this is going to be a striking affair, and I give Moraes a bit of a shot here.
I'm not as confident as you are. I do think the line is a bit out of, it's definitely a bit much. I got Moraes a C, Arce a C+. I mean, I do think Arce is a better fighter.
Yep.
Just more well-rounded. I like his striking acumen. Goes to the body. I mean, throws with decent volume, fights at a pretty good pace. I mean, he's just, I hate to be a simpleton about it, but he's just solid. Shaun Moraes came with a lot of fanfare coming from World Series of Fighting, but really hasn't met expectations. So I'm going to take Julio Arce in this fight. But this is an interesting challenge for him, and I really don't think there's a guy worth betting at 3.5 to 1. I don't see the value there. Lance Fishel's favorite flyweight, Sijara Eubanks, is taking on Roxanne Modafferi. Who's Shaun? Is there gonna be another Who sighting?
I don't know who this fighter is. She sounds like an angry person though. There's I think I've seen her name in the headline, getting pissed off at people because they don't know who she is. She's her own worst enemy. She's a Team Rape Irvin supporter. She's
a rape apologist. Okay.
She's the double whammy. She is a Team Rape Irvin and a Team fucking Ali.
Ali.
Ali is her fucking manager. So she's
yeah,
she's got the double whammy going on. So I would be very happy if Roxanne Modafferi somehow beat her. I don't think it happens. Roxanne's come a long way. She was not very good not that long ago, and she's seemed to make some big steps, but this is going to be a tough one against a bit of an athlete with a lot of strength advantage over her. I don't really care about this fight, not taking the over, just not going to give a fuck, and I'll probably purposely not watch it just so the ratings drop a bit, just so Eubanks, I don't know, gets pissed off.
Yeah, I don't think that many people care about this fight either. I mean, Sajara Eubanks doesn't have anyone that likes her, so that's not a good start. I mean, she's complaining to nobody, in my opinion, about her inability to headline a card, a pay-per-view card. But she's going to win this fight, I think. Her aggression is going to be key. She's way more powerful than Roxanne. That's really the key factor here, and she can work for 15 minutes. This isn't a good matchup for Roxanne Modafferi, and I think she's going to lose. I think Eubanks by decision is easily the most likely to result in this bout. Headliner for the TV card, you got Jordan Rinaldi taking on, what is that, Mississippi Mean?
That's Wes's cousin.
Wes's cousin, Jason Knight. Where is he to talk about this? New Shaun,
it's a shame.
You can do it.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Jason Knight has lost 3 straight fights. He's lost to Ricardo Lamas, Gabriel Benitez, and Makwan Amirkhani. And even so, he's still a, minus 260 favorite. Jordan Rinaldi, not a great fighter, got absolutely dummied by Gregor Gillespie last time. There's no shame in that. Gregor Gillespie, where the hell is that guy? I want to see him fight.
We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for him. But, yeah, no shame in that, but Jason Knight should take this. He's more skilled. He definitely has the cardio. I don't know much of what Jordan Rinaldi is.
He's a half-ass wrestler.
He's a half-ass wrestler, but maybe he can take down Jason Knight a little bit. I don't know. I think Jordan Rinaldi's probably in trouble. Jason Knight's still only 26. He's definitely been in some wars, so that is an older 26. I can't lay that price on Jason Knight regardless. Coming off 3 losses, he's still juiced to the gills. So I'll pass. He probably wins. Maybe even gets a finish.
Ooh, yeah. It's hard to really tell what you have with Jordan Rinaldi because I feel like he hasn't fought in a while. And I mean, he's really kind of a grappler wrestler with a little bit of punching, but. I mean, he's not really. I mean, I don't see him as a high-end talent. Jason Knight looked good early on. His UFC career but has really fallen off. So I don't know how anyone could really feel comfortable betting him as a significant favorite in this bout or any bout. I mean, I think his confidence is kind of shot, and that's a real problem. So I think it's kind of like a Tout Master. You take a look at Rinaldi and kind of hope for the best, but. It's hard for unless just Rinaldi takes Knight down and just kind of controls him on the mat, which is possible. It's really the way I see him winning. I mean, I don't see him outstriking him. I don't see him submitting him. It's kind of an ugly fight. So I'll take Jason Knight to win, but I would want my money nowhere near him in this fight. Pay-per-view card starting off with a bang.
Yes, sir.
Derek Brunson taking on the Stylebender, Israel Adesanya. New Shaun, how good is this going to be?
This is going to be an awesome fight. Anytime Israel Adesanya fights is a pretty damn good time to watch a guy with just all kinds of variety of strikes. Cardio is pretty damn good. And this matchup, I think, is very well suited for him. There's a lot of people that are on Adesanya. That's kind of what I worry about at this point. I did lay the minus 250 when it was a while ago. The striking difference is going to be crazy in this fight. If Derek Brunson's smart, he'll try to take down Adesanya, but Adesanya's shown a little bit of takedown defense and a bit of a get-up game. That, in my opinion, is Derek Brunson's way to win. Just wrestle his ass off. I don't think he's going to be able to do that, even if he does have some success early. I do think he's going to be a lot more tentative on the feet. I know everybody's got the gifs ready of him just running into punches, running into oh fuck. Now, what's his name? Robert Whittaker, when he just ran towards him, when he kind of ran towards Jacare last time. I think this is going to be a more cautious fight. It seems like anytime he gets absolutely knocked the fuck out, he comes back a little more tentative. He did after he lost to Romero, he came back tentative against Lawrence Larkin. After he got knocked the fuck out by Whittaker, he came back way more tentative against Anderson Silva. And with a guy like Adesanya, you got to be tentative. So I think it's going to be a bit of a slower fight. Brunson's going to try to wrestle, but I think Adesanya should be able to stuff a bit of it. Like I said, I laid the minus 250 on Adesanya for 1 unit. I also put a unit on Adesanya by decision at plus 277. Just looking at this being a more of a slow-paced fight. Adesanya does have a couple decisions in the UFC. I think Brunson tries to fight a much, much smarter game and doesn't go blitzkrieg and get knocked the fuck out. So I think that is the way the fight's going to go.
I got both these guys at B. I mean, this is an interesting bout. I feel, though, that Brunson already mentally is already playing into Adesanya's hands. He could certainly have some success if he's able to get this fight to the ground and hold him there. I mean, I think he'd be able to hold Adesanya down for a bit if he's able to kind of get control on the mat. But, I mean, his chin is not good, Brunson, and he's had so many Mookie performances that he's completely untrustworthy, and I think Adesanya KOs him. It's not a lock or anything, but I think there's a pretty good opportunity that Adesanya clips him in this bout. But we'll see. Next fight on the pay-per-view card, also middleweight, we got Jack Marshman, the Welshman, take on American Carl Roberson. New Shaun, anything here? Or
I don't have much here. Both guys coming off losses. Both got choked out in the last fight they were in. Both by Brazilians. Roberson has looked pretty good for striking wise. He looked pretty damn good on Dana White Contender Series. Marshman, definitely lower on. He has lost to Santos, beat Ryan James, who's not good, and then lost to Shoeface, which, I mean, those are fairly good fighters, but I don't really have an angle in this fight. I think Roberson's able to keep it standing and use his striking and probably knock out Jack Marshman.
Probably right. I got Roberson D+, Marshman a D. I mean, both these guys are going to want to punch and throw. Roberson faster, better chin even than Marshman. I mean, Marshman's been hurt by Ryan James on the feet. Ryan freaking James.
Not
okay?
a good look. Not a good look.
Not a good look at all. So I'm going to take Carl Roberson by knockout. I mean, decision also possible, but I like Roberson's chances here. 3 fights left. We got David Branch taking on Jared Cannonier. New Shaun, any chance at the upset in this card on this fight?
I don't think so. I do think it goes to decision. That's kind of my big play on it. I was able to grab goes to decision for. It averages out to plus 123 for a unit and a third. It's moved. It's about minus 110 now. I did also play David Branch to win by decision for 2/3 of a unit at plus 120. So I got about 2 units on goes to decision. David Branch is, I guess they're hyping up David Branch that he's actually a finisher, but I think he pulled the punch against Santos out of his ass. I think he loses that fight way more often than he wins. I'm not sure what the hell happened there, but David Branch is a decision machine for the most part. Some of the finishes he has is because he was fighting 5-round fights in World Series of Fighting, but I think this is going to be a fairly boring fight. It's going to be a little bit of striking, nothing big behind the shots, and then David Branch is going to clench up and work him over kind of on the fence and maybe grab a takedown and work him over a little bit on the ground. Not too much is going to happen. Jared Cannonier, he's a fairly sturdy fighter. I know he got knocked out by Dominic Reyes last time out, but Dominic Reyes is kind of is a beast. So I think he'll be able to stay in there. David Branch is just the better fighter here. I wouldn't lay that minus 360 with David Branch, but I will take him by decision if I can get the plus money, because I think that's what's going to happen. Probably a 30-27, fairly easy decision for David Branch, but yeah, that's kind of what I think on this.
Yeah, I got David Branch a B, Cannonier a C minus. I mean, I think there's a wide disparity in talent here. Cannonier mainly a striker, that had success against heavies and more so light heavyweights just by having a speed advantage. Don't see him having speed advantage down at middleweight, and he's facing a really savvy fighter in David Branch now, who's not really much of a puncher, but is going to grapple and just tire Cannonier out. Once this fight gets to the ground, there's just a huge advantage for David Branch. It's hard to even quantify how big of an advantage it is. I expect him to get it there. A decent possibility to finish on the mat. If not, I think it's fine too. I like David Branch quite a bit in this bout. Co-main event it is. Big fight at middleweight. We got the return of Chris Weidman taking on one of Brazil's best middleweights of all time, Jacare. New Shaun, big fight here.
Yeah, I think we're going to disagree on this one. I don't think too much of Chris Weidman in this matchup. Weidman's been knocked out 3 of the last 4 fights. He's always injured. Who knows what kind of injuries he's bringing into this fight. I'm sure he was trying his darndest not to pull out, because it is a New York fight card. This is it's a hometown fight for him. It's a lot of pressure. Jacare for sure he's declining a bit, but he's still a damn good fighter. Was able to knock out Derek Brunson. Went to a close decision with Gastelum. This is going to be a striking fight, and Jacare has really excelled on his striking in the last little bit. He used to just be a very, very rudimentary striker, but now he's got a bit of a game. So I think Chris Weidman's in a bit more trouble than I think what the odds say. I took Jacare by decision. I got that for half a unit at plus 525. I think that's a wild number. I guess people think that Jacare is going to finish him. Weidman is tough, even though he's been knocked out a couple times recently. And then I added on Weidman just 1 unit at Jacare at plus 150 for 1 unit. Striking match. I don't think Weidman's going to want to take down Jacare with his jiu-jitsu. So this is going to be an interesting fight.
Yeah, it should be.
It's one that's been kind of hyped for a long time. We've always kind of talked about this match.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird
the way
it's happening, but
there's like a 4 or 5 group. There's 4 or 5 guys in a group kind of at that weight division. They all kind of have to face each other, This feels like this is finally happening. I got Weidman an A, Jacare an A minus. I mean, Jacare's gotten a bit older. I mean, I don't think his striking is as good as it once was. And I'm worried about Jacare going up against an elite wrestler like Weidman, because Jacare's biggest successes come from top position on the mat. I don't see him getting there in this fight, just based on what Weidman's skill set is and what Jacare's skill set is. So he's going to be forced to fight in a standing exchange. And I just think Weidman's just constant, movement and pace is going to be too much for Jacare to handle. I like Weidman in this bout. either by decision, most likely, or a late stoppage. Main event time. We have the Heavyweight Championship for the world. Daniel Cormier defending the belt he took from Stipe Miocic. He's taking on the Black Beast.
Wes's favorite fighter.
Derek Lewis. I mean, Derek Lewis has been on a luck box streak for what seems like 2 years now. New Shaun. It's just finally the fight where his lucky streak is going to end.
I would think so. This guy is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-1 in his last 10 in the UFC.
Wow.
Yeah, Wes's favorite fighter. I'm kind of bummed he's not on here so I could rile him up some more about talking about the Black Beast. This is a bad matchup. This is a bad turnaround. He was getting absolutely dominated by Volkov. He should have lost that. If Volkov had any brains, he would have won that fight. Lewis got hit in the head, I think about 150 times is what I remember seeing in that fight. And now he's going to fight, 2 months or 20, what is it, like 25 days, 30 days later?
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
That is way too quick of a turnaround. He got hurt in a couple times in that fight, and now he's going against Daniel Cormier, one of the best fighters ever. This is going to be bad news. Lewis gets tired. Cormier is just going to take him down, wear him out, probably choke him out, maybe pound him out. It doesn't matter. I've been trying to find a way to play Cormier. It just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Cormier inside is still a crazy number. It's 505 minus 505. I'm trying to find a way to play this fight, to play Cormier, to play something, and I just don't see it. This is going to be domination. I think Cormier finishes in the second or third.
I got Cormier an A++. Derek Lewis a B-. I mean, there's just a huge gap in skills.
Skill, cardio, fucking everything.
The cardio is a really big issue. Derek Lewis always looks lethargic. And then, he's getting hit, like he's going to turtle up, but then, throws some punches for, 10 seconds and kind of regains his composure. Difference with Cormier is that he can hit you from the inside pretty easily. He's going to work. He's going to make you work, and his cardio is going to be able to hold up, and it's just not going to be a good night. I mean, he's got a chance at a Herculean strike and doing something, but it seems so unlikely just because of Cormier's huge speed advantage. He should be able to see everything coming. I mean, I'm hard pressed to believe he can't finish Derek Lewis. I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion just based on his skill set, and he's used to fighting power punchers. He's fought Glover. He's fought, maybe not Glover. He's fought Anthony Johnson twice. As an example, I mean, we're talking about a guy who hits just as hard as Derek Lewis and had no problem. He was able to get him to the ground. Yeah, Vulcan, right. I mean, there's been, and he's passed with flying colors. So, I mean, what does Derek Lewis bring here that Daniel Cormier hasn't seen already? I mean, that's really the key question, and I mean, I really don't have an answer. I mean, this is a blowout, in my opinion.
There's a reason that Cormier took this fight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he wants to fight John. It's pretty clear, but they said, okay, why don't you take a fight first? This is a pretty easy fight for him. That's my take, at least. But we'll see. I think Cormier wins inside of 2 rounds.
Yep.
Shaun, anything else this week? Or
No, that's about it. Next week, I'm going to be heading down to Denver and meeting up with Wes and Jerry and Trish, and we're going to be hanging out and going to the UFC on Fox card in Denver.
Ooh,
I
forgot that was next week already.
That card's taken a bit of a hit. Obviously, Frankie Edgar had to pull out, so now the main event's Korean Zombie versus Yair,
which is probably a better fight.
It's a better fight, but I mean, it's always nice to see Frankie Edgar in person forever. I don't know how long he's going to fight. And also, Ricardo Ramos was supposed to fight Ricky Simon. That was going to be a fun fight as well. And so both those guys are off the card.
Oh, it's off.
Yeah,
they
didn't even keep Simon off the card after Ramos pulled. So that's a bit of a bummer, but it'll still be a good time.
You still get to see Platinum
Mikey Platts, baby.
I don't think I've ever seen him fight live. That's kind of a guy I want. Yeah, it's always going to be fun when Platinum Mike fights. So, yeah, that should be a good one.
See Cowboy. See one of the last flyweight fights, probably.
Yeah, I guess that's possible. I mean, I don't want to speculate, but, I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. That'll be a good fight, though. Ray Borg versus Joseph Benavidez. That'll be a good fight, but...
Yeah, totally. That should be interesting. Joe B trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. So, yeah, that does it for this week's episode. Big fight card this weekend at the Garden. Let's see if there's any chaos moments. We all love a bit of chaos. Maybe it could really ruffle some feathers on the card. I mean, I can only imagine if Black Beast was UFC champion.
Would be insane.
That would be totally insane.
That's why I wish Wes was on here, because, I mean, Wes might be crazy enough to throw another one of these tattoo bets on the Black Beast.
Yeah, he might.
But unfortunately, he couldn't be with us this weekend. Yeah. He might be on the lam. We'll have to see.
Yeah, he survived the tattoo, but there was about a good hour or two.
Oh, he was shitting bricks.
Yeah, he was shitting bricks. He got some stupid ass McGregor tattoo. You got lucky. It's not over yet, there, Colvin. I'm calling you out. Don't be stupid. Don't eat ratchet in Calcutta.
That's right.
All right. Anyway, that will do it for this week's episode. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the fights.